Let's review Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. Now, you may remember playing Ninja Gaiden on the NES many years ago, which means you're pretty darn old, much like myself. But if you're like me and your first introduction to Ninja Gaiden was on the Xbox, then like myself, you probably played the hell out of Ninja Gaiden 2. From my experience, Ninja Gaiden 2 was the precursor in the hack and slash genre to games like Elden Ring. The game did everything in its power to make it as difficult as possible, from the horrific camera angles to the, let's be honest, lack of any real dodge mechanic, to the enemies and bosses whose combos went on forever, as well as battling absolutely horrific camera angles. Let's not forget, when you complete the game, there are a few new game pluses. And you couldn't just start with the hardest difficulty, no. You had to unlock them. Back in '09, when I was a drunk, nicotine-infused and monster energy-addicted Devil Dog's babysitter, I played the hell out of this game. So much so that I actually got all the way to the final difficulty of play. I made it in the first level, got hit by the first mob, hit once, and I was dead. That's when I finally put the controller down and said, yeah, okay, I think I've got as far as I can go. Now, I did manage to beat the game on the second hardest difficulty, and that was a chore. I mean, I was dying literally 1,000 times. It was spending hours and hours. But I finally pursued and made it. I beat it, and I was pretty damn proud of myself. But on the way, I still remember my roommate asking me, dude, why do you put yourself through that? Like, what's the point? And I said, dude, I have no friggin' clue. But, I persevered and I made it. And I'm still proud of it to this day. Then, years later, Ninja Gaiden 3 dropped. I was pretty excited. And holy crap, was that a letdown. I was more disappointed with that game than I was with EA's SimCity. So we will forget number 3 ever existed, okay? Alright? Now flash forward to today. Surprise! The Ninja Gaiden Black release. Like, I was not expecting Ninja Gaiden 2 to get any sort of re-release. Or at least, let me know a year or two in advance so I can be excited. But I'll take this. This is actually a lot better. Because it dropped, downloaded on Game Pass, and I played through it. However, I did not play it on the hardest difficulty because I don't want to put myself through that punishment again. But it lived up to it. So I figured I'll make a video, do my own little review, give it the respect it deserves, and get ready for Ninja Gaiden 4. I need to say, it's refreshing to see a remake done correctly. Back in the day, playing Resident Evil 1 remake, now that quite possibly is the greatest remake of all time. But I just got done playing Resident Evil 2 and 3, and they're a letdown. Yeah, the graphics are updated, it's fun, but as a longtime fan of the Resident Evil series, it was missing a lot. I would have rather just with Resident Evil 3, just make it the identical game with updated graphics, and I won't complain. With Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, it is the same game. Minus you add a couple extra features at the end, which were actually kind of fun, and it keeps you playing more and more. But the game didn't need to change. The graphics were probably the only thing that, were needed to update the game for a lot of people to enjoy it more. Because let's face it, there are a lot of people that grumble, oh, the graphics they're too crappy, so I'm not gonna play the game, or the game's too old, yada yada yada. When in reality, even with the graphics it was still an amazing game. My favorite part though, with this game though, is watching some of the streamers play it and just grumbling because this isn't Elden Ring. I love Elden Ring. Elden Ring is by far a lot tougher of a game, to be honest, but it's a different toughness. With Elden Ring, you can dodge. If you're good at dodging, you can make the game fairly easy. With Ninja Gaiden, you can dodge, but it takes a lot of skill. Back in the day, I remember being pretty good at dodging and had it down to a T. It was a science. My current playthrough that I just completed, I forgot how tough the dodging is. Basically, I went with barely dodging at all. You have a block, and the block works in certain cases, but there's a lot of times the block ain't doing anything because you only block so long. Eventually, they're going to break through, and the enemies they continue to attack. The, with a lot of games, you have a set. They have an attack. It takes 2 3 seconds, a few actions, it's done. You know when to counterattack, and it's doable. And with time and repetition, you got it down. Ninja Gaiden is a lot different, whereas they'll attack for shoot 10 minutes if you let it, I swear, and then they throw so many enemies, and you can't block every enemy that's on the field, nor can you dodge every enemy when they're all attacking at different times, which I find to be a unique experience. When a lot of games we see, even when there's multiple enemies, you have ways to get out of it. So Ninja Gaiden just did it differently, and that's one of the things that does make it hard. Unfortunately, it kind of just makes it hard to be hard. Like, in a way, you wish it would have been easier to be able to dodge and block. However, I personally love it. It's frustrating. I find myself wanting to throw a controller, wanting to scream, wanting to yell, and bitch out the game, but I get through the level and I forget all about it. What I find myself doing quite a bit is flying through the air with my sword, going back and forth. That worked on a lot of the lower level mobs. However, the bosses, it didn't work too well. And you had a lot of different bosses. There was some that were pretty easy, and there were some that were just outright hard, which is kind of nice to see. However, it wasn't like your first boss is the easiest. Correction, I think he was. But it was kind of one was easy, then one was hard. One was easy, then one was hard. And then, towards the end, they throw them all back in your face and make you run through a gauntlet. Because that's what hack and slashes always did back in the day. I would like to think they still do it now. But overall, I enjoyed replaying this game. It was fun. It felt like it did back in the day. Granted, will I go through and play it on the hardest difficulties again and spend all that time really mastering it? I really don't think so. Just because I've already been there and I've already done it, and I'm not that type of gamer who can run through games on the hardest difficulty over and over like some of your streamers that can do those speed runs of Doom Eternal, which I commend them. That takes skill and a lot of patience, but out of my league. But no, I had fun. And even at the end of the game, they have a little, it's almost like a mercenaries mode. You just got to kill as many as you can. You got a computer player with you to help you out, which you can combine skills and blow everybody up. It's kind of cool. It was a nice addition. Not my cup of tea for, there's not much of a point to it. I like the main story game. And, to get to the story, it's still great. And it's great to refresh and go through it, get the story again in preparation in Ninja Gaiden 4. Even though I kind of still remembered kind of how it went. You have the Fiends, Ryu Hayabusa takes them out, gets the smoking hot chick, and rides off into the sunset. So apparently we're going to start back, hopefully at 4 from there. Because I really want to forget that 3 ever existed. And I have heard that 3 had a bit of a remake or retool and it is better to play. I don't know. Maybe if I hear enough people tell me that it's better, I'll go back and try it out again. But as of now, it stopped at 2. Well, hopefully when Ninja Gaiden 4 comes out, we'll be talking like it's the greatest hack and slash of all time. I'm really hoping so, and I believe it's a good possibility. Hopefully they sprinkle in a little bit of the open worldness that we saw in the original Ninja Gaiden for the Xbox. If not, as long as it's as good as number 2, I'll be completely happy. Now, hopefully you enjoyed this video. It is the first video game review I've done, kind of messing around with it. But if you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe, and if enough people like it or whatnot, maybe I'll do more of these. And who knows, maybe y'all can tell me which games to do in the future.